So now we're assuming all the time entries are good, and now you want to submit it to your supervisor. So we do that through our reports page. There's a report for review, administer, and submit timesheets. And the screen, this is what the screen looks like if you are a typical user, and I'll show you the manager screen, which is it looks a little different, has some more features on it. But generally, there's two sides to the screen. There's the generate time slip report side, which is all this stuff over here, which lets you just run a report that shows you the time entries for any given week. And then over on the right-hand side, which is the one that people use most, this is where you can run the same report, but you can actually submit it to your supervisor for approval. So if I wanted to run the report for the week of March 18th to March 24th, and we require people to submit the time for a week period, and every program is different. At LAWO, they operate off a bi-monthly payroll cycle, so their times are actually 1st to 15th, and then the 16th to the last day of the month. But ours is every week. So I can just click any day during that week. So again, if I'm running the report for the 18th to the 24th, I can pick the 19th, and then it will automatically calculate the pay period that I'm running the time off of. So you can see the pay period starts 3/18 and goes to 3/24. And then it'll tell me that this is a valid pay period for submitting a time report for, and it just gives me some summary, 17 activity records with a total of 28 hours. And we have a 35-hour work week, so I know right away that this is a problem. So if I were this staff member doing this, I would say, wait a minute, I'm missing time records. But you can hit continue, and this is what the actual time slip report looks like. So at the top, we break down by funding, funder codes, if you selected more than one funder code. The second section, the time slip detail report, this is where the sort of the meat of the report is. This tells you every single time record that's been entered for that week and gives you a daily subtitle. So you can see for 3/19, there's 2 time records for a total of 7 hours. Just a couple of things that we did to make this more useful for both the staff and the managers. Sometimes the way our case management system works is we have a summary field that is short. I think it has like 75 character limit, and then a long, an unlimited field where you can put in very long notes. Sometimes the description in the summary field is not very descriptive of the activity, and the manager wants to see in some more detail what it is that the person did during that time activity. So instead of making this report very clunky by including all of that detail, we've just added it to a pop-up. So if a manager or the end user could just pop right over the description on any of these, and if there is a additional information, it'll show up in this blue box that pops up. So as you can see, I just typed in, this is a longer note. The supervisor can see the full text of a note right from the time report. So again, it's just it's information that we want to see, but it's not information we want to clutter the screen with, because for the most part, you don't need to see it on the time slip report. So this person, if I were this person looking at this, I could see that I'm missing time. So I have entries for 3/19, 3/20, 3/21. I don't have anything for 3/23. So I would, if I were this user, I would go back and enter in a time slip for 3/22. So let me just do that. So if I go back to that report screen, it's now showing I have 35 hours, and then my weekly total is 35. So I know I have the right number. Scrolling down on the report, this is the section where it shows when they came and went. So as you saw, I made in-out records for 3:23 at the beginning of the demo. I came in at 8:30 and left at noon, and came back at 1 and left at 4:30. So we used to just give this information without any calculations. And so what we've added is the ability to show how many hours each one of these lines represents with the daily subtotal. So if there's some question about how long someone was here, the manager or the staff member can compare the number of hours here with the number of hours on a given day up here. So I'm just going to go ahead and submit this. But as you can see, like here, this person is 6.75 hours on 320 total, but they have 7 hours submitted, and so on and so on. So, and then at the bottom, there are activity records in our Pika case management system that can have no time associated with them, but because we don't want people being able to go back and add time to those records, we lock them as well. So any activity records for that pay period will get locked. And so this miscellaneous activity section is just showing you all the time records that are going to get locked, even if there's no time associated with them. So at this point, this person would be ready to submit it, and they would pick their manager from this pop-up list. If their managers, they know their manager is on vacation, they can pick another manager to submit it to. And then clicking Sign and Submit, it's one last warning message that you're submitting 35 hours. If it's right, that's it. So that time record has now been submitted to the supervisor for approval, and when you click Sign and Submit, we consider that your electronic signature for payroll purposes. So what the end user then sees is under Submit New Timesheets, a pending timesheet with the date range and when it was submitted. You can go ahead and view that if you want. You can also, if you realized you made a mistake and needed to fix something, if it has not been approved by the supervisor yet, you can clear it, which will just eliminate it as a pending timesheet, and it won't show up in your supervisor's list when they go to approve timesheets, and you can make whatever corrections you want to make. The other change we made to the system was it used to be you can only have one pending timesheet at a time, and now you can have multiple timesheets. So you can submit multiple weeks at a time. So if your manager doesn't approve your time by the following Monday, when you go to submit it, you can still submit it, and then your manager will just approve 2 weeks in a row. Our payroll cycle is we get paid every 2 weeks, so sometimes managers don't always approve all the time every week, which was a source of frustration for staff. The only other thing I wanted to say is on the time record, and this is more for managers' purpose, we color-coded the leave time so that it sort of pops out and the managers can see that the person has leave and can make sure that it was approved and all that. So that's from the staff person's perspective. From a manager's perspective, it works similarly. On the timesheet report, I'm now logged in as myself, so two things happened when I submitted that time as the fake user. The first thing is that I got an email from that person. So Billy Bob was the name of the fake staff member. So Billy Bob sent me an email automatically through the system that says that Billy Bob submitted a timesheet for approval for this period. And I can just click on this link, and it'll basically take me right back to this report screen. So, you know, if during the day I can see some of my staff will submit timesheets, I can just, right from the email, jump right to the screen and approve it. So this bottom half of the screen is all different because this stuff only appears if you are a manager in the system for timekeeping. So over here on the left-hand side, the review and approve time slips is where managers see all of the pending approval. So if right now there's only one here, you know, if I have 5 or 6 people submitting me timesheets, I could have 5 or 6 things here. If I have somebody who submitted 2, then I could have, you know, I could have 10, 20 timesheets sitting there if I don't approve them in a timely fashion in this menu. But I just pick whichever one I want to look at and hit continue. And it's exactly the same thing as what you saw a minute ago that the user submitted, except at the bottom I now have a choice of approving it or rejecting it. If I reject it, then the end user, the person who submitted it, Billy Bob, will get an email back saying that I rejected it. And if I do pick rejected, it pops up with this little window where I can type in a reason, which I'm not going to do. But and if I want to approve it, I can just do that. So I will just go ahead and approve that. So from the time the staff member puts their time in, it's now been submitted and approved, and there's no paper. There's no, you know, we have 4 offices with people reporting to people in different offices. And you used to have to ship paper back and forth, and now there's none of that. It's all done electronically. If I am a staff member, I'm back on this screen. You can see if I refresh this, my pending approval is gone because it was just approved. If I want to see timesheets that I've previously submitted for some reason, I can pull that up by just picking any dates in the range of the submission and clicking approved timesheets, and then it will then show me all the approved timesheets for that period. If I were to pick an earlier time, it's going to show me multiple things. So I had a timesheet that I approved for this period and a timesheet that was approved for this period, and then I can pull it up and see it for my own purposes. Sometimes there's some confusion about whether you approved it. Sometimes you want to know whether you took vacation during a particular week or not. So we can now have real quick access to that information. If you are a manager, if for some reason you need to unlock a time report, so for example, somebody forgot to put in some activity that they did that had time associated with it, so we want the time record to be accurate, obviously. So you can go in and pull up a previously submitted time entry, and then it will show you all the time records for that range, and hit continue. And again, it looks just like what you've seen before, except now at the bottom there's a field for unlocking, giving the reason for unlocking, and then I can hit unlock. And what happens when you do that is the Billy Bob will get an email saying that the manager has unlocked the timesheet for that period, so that they know they can go back in and make whatever corrections they need to make. As an added safety measure, I mean, the finance department was concerned about an audit trail that, you know, if we're approving and unapproving time records, we would like to know that that's happening. So anytime a user submits a timesheet, if they clear the timesheet or if an approved timesheet gets unlocked, all of those records get duplicated into a audit trail table that basically shows all those records. So if the same time record gets submitted and approved and unlocked and submitted and approved and unlocked 2 or 3 times, then those time records will all show up in this sort of hidden table that no one can see except finance and IT can run reports out of that if there was some personnel dispute about whether or not somebody ever submitted their time in a timely fashion or something like that. So that's basically the whole submitting and approving timesheet system.